What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Elevated Energy Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Blaine Klein, and we got a great show for you today. Our guest is somebody that we'll be getting to know very well over the course of this podcast. He's a great leader, entrepreneur, boss, and all-around good guy. It's my co-host and the CEO of our amazing company here at the solarbears, Scott Dozier, everybody.
Hey.
How you doing today, Scott?
What's up? I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to get into the start of the Solar Bears and all that here in just a second, but I did want to kind of start at the beginning, so to speak. So what were kind of some of your influences in your younger years that kind of pushed you more towards going into business for yourself rather than working like a traditional 9-to-5?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that I had an entrepreneur role model or like an example or anything like that. I feel like maybe more than anything else, me and authority didn't do too well together. So I may have gravitated towards, doing my own thing because, a teacher, a coach, a boss, it's all the similar type of energy, right? So
right on, yeah. Not too big of a fan of having people tell you what to do.
I mean, that's true, yes. But I don't mind, like, if it makes sense, right?
Right.
Like my best friend and I, we work really, really well together. We've been business partners for years, and it's a really beautiful thing because, like, sometimes he's the chief and I'm the Indian. And like, because he's got a good vision for whatever it is that we're doing that day, right? And like, I do pretty well taking direction from him because I know that he's got the vision, he's holding it down, like it's all good, right? And then vice versa. A lot of times I'm the chief and he's the Indian, it's like, hey, what do I do next? And we'll ask each other, right? Or sometimes we'll both be chiefing it in our own lane. We'll be over here doing something and he's doing something. We're just handling our own thing, whatever it is that's going on. I think the biggest thing was I don't, if what you're telling me to do doesn't make sense to me, I'm going to question. Right. And that I learned from my parents, like, it's the if all your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to jump too, kind of.
Right. But,
I can't tell you how many times that I heard that or whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get the same one. So,
and so I guess I always had an inclination towards my own sovereignty, if you will, towards making my own decisions, towards being the one who was steering the ship, because so often when I was younger, I didn't agree with the processes, that were in place, or I didn't respect the authority figure who was steering the ship, or maybe the way that they treated me, like, oh, don't ask me why, like, do it because I told you to, like, sorry.
Right. Yeah. That's not an explanation.
That's not it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that doesn't do it for me. Yeah. I need for this to make sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, I have no problem doing it. I'm not just not following directions because I don't like following directions. Like, it needs to
right. But at the same time, the captain can't just be steering you towards a Bermuda Triangle and you just be like, oh, no, this is fine. This is cool.
Yeah.
And be like, I wanted to travel to new places anyway.
Bro, there's an island, right? You're going to run into the island. Like, well, it says right here on the map that we're going straight this way. It's like, bro, I'm out. I'm getting off of the boat. I don't care if it's the middle.
I'm gonna go shut up a shelter on the island and take my chances with the turtles, brother.
Like, yeah, y'all can go ahead and run aground, dude. I'm good.
Right. That's great. So with that forging your own paths kind of mindset, where did you find that landed you with like earlier jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was definitely prone towards entrepreneurship very young. Like, I was cleaning shoes in high school, right, for like $10 or whatever. Like, in the early days of Michael Jordan and everyone's rocking J's, and my lawn mowing money and stuff will go towards some J's, and then you don't want to crease them and you got to keep them clean. Right. So I'm figuring out the best ways to go about cleaning them, and I'm keeping my shoes clean all the time. I had a homie who was so spoiled, bro. He had every pair of J's, every color that came out, right? So 5 or 6 colors every year. She got the day that they came out.
Yeah, I've had a few sneakerhead friends, like closet completely filled with boxes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the difference was that he didn't work like or do anything for him. Like he was just super spoiled. But it was cool because we go over there and kick it all the time, and it was like a fun place to be at. And like I'd rock his shit, I'd clean his shoes, and then I like rock him to school the next day.
Yeah.
Bro, you got enough shoes, relax. You know what I mean? Like I had to grind for one pair of J's, bro. Like you got 15, you don't do shit.
For sure.
So
it
I always knew that I wanted to, own my own business and kind of, steer my own ship. Right. I didn't do great with job. Like I started in the restaurant industry, and I think the first couple jobs that I had in the restaurant industry didn't go all of that great because like
that's a rough industry too.
Yeah, it is, but like I think like my third restaurant job, like it was kind of like a smaller restaurant, but like we'd get really busy. But I remember one time where so I worked in these old train cars, right? It was like a 50s diner, and they were old train cars. And it was like a big touristy area. And so it was the middle of summer, and I was the only server on, and the owner lived right out back. And he comes in and the whole train car is filled. It's like 12 seats or whatever, not 12 seats, 12 tables. Okay. And he comes in, he's like, how come you didn't call me? And I'm like, bro, I got this. And it's because I do a really good job of prioritizing. Like growing up playing sports, I think I refer to this probably more than anything else, specifically being the shortstop, right? Where you're like the captain of the infield. You need to know what's going on at all times. You need to be able to direct people properly. You need to be able to communicate really effectively. So I'm able to do that really well. And I also have a knack for compartmentalizing what needs to be done in what time, kind of a thing, right? So I got in there. I know exactly what's going on. He like just sat back. He was about to be mad. And like he was this Greek dude who like, he had a little bit of a temper, but he just gets pissed off if you're not like doing a good job, or whatever's going on. And he just sat back for 5 minutes, and he saw that everyone was happy, and then I was handling, and he was like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, bro, like I got this. I'm holding the restaurant down, homie. Like, don't you worry about me. I'll call you. You know what I mean? Like everyone's stoked, right? And he's like, all right, cool. And then I very quickly got into independent contractor type jobs. Like my next job from that was driving taxi cabs. So I was in college, I was either downtown drinking and partying, or I was driving around my friends who were drinking and partying. And like, I'm the same age as everybody I got the job at 22, right? So like 22, 24, I'm doing that. I'm mobbing around in the car by myself. Everyone's calling my phone. I'm hardly taking any calls from dispatch. Like dispatch would hit me up like, hello, because they haven't heard from me in hours. Like, yo, do you need a ride? Or like, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I got this. Because I had everybody on lock where it's like they're calling me. I'm like, yo, I'll be there at this time. And they knew I'm either going to be out front or Scott's not going to come pick me up anymore. In the town that I was working in, taxis were like in high demand. So like, you don't want to wait for an hour for your taxi when like Taxi Scott, that's what all the little Cal Poly girls would call me. Taxi Scott can come and pick you up. I'll be right there. You just, be ready, like I have who also knew what was up, and like if their friends that they were with weren't ready, they're like, yo, we're out. And they'd be like, yo, fucking go. We get no, because they know that I'm not here to make money. And if I'm sitting, I'm not making money. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, and then from there,
if the meter ain't running, you're not making money.
Right. Well, I mean, even if the meter is running, bro, if the miles aren't spinning, like if it's crunch time, the wheels need to be spinning. You know what I mean? And you're getting paid off of mileage too. If it's just ticking along, I'm making like $10 an hour during crunch time when I need to be making 50 to 100 during crunch time, So like,
right on.
I'm not sitting here, bro. From that point on, like I was either a 1099 or, I got into different like network marketing companies and stuff like that because it gave you a chance to have ownership, right? And learn how to try and build a business and grow a network of people and stuff like that. And the cool thing about network marketing is they focus so much on self-development because like if people don't like you as a person, like they're not going to want to come and like work with you.
Right. 100%. And kind of selling your personality on a lot of it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so that was kind of my entry into, where I am now into entrepreneurship. Was started on some independent contractor stuff, got into some MLMs and stuff like that. And then, started some businesses and tried to figure that out. And now here we are.
Heck yeah. I love it. I love it. So, with all the different businesses you created and ran through throughout the years, as well as like the developed leadership skills from your coaching opportunities, what do you feel like was the biggest reason to push you into the renewable energy space?
So I'm not necessarily like a, diehard climate change guy or anything like that. Matter of fact, we could get into that debate, that we don't need to. But I am about doing things in a more conscious, intentional way. And over the last 5 to 10 years, I would say I've gotten really, really in touch with Gaia, with our mother, with the earth, and understanding that we can do things better, right? The technology is there for us to do things better, for us to not be polluting the earth, to not be harming this beautiful home that holds us, and I was in the remote sales space. I was closing deals. I was having success doing that right out the gates. Like, I got a message from the CEO of the company that I was working for like 3 weeks in or whatever, like, bro, like, you're killing it. Like, we've never had somebody rise so fast. And I literally messaged him on Instagram before I got that job, like, bro, watch what's about to happen in the next year here. And I was like, I told you, bro, like, remember when I messaged you on Instagram? He's like, that's crazy. You did say that. It's like, yeah, I do what I say I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like, if it's possible, like, there are some things that I said that I was going to do that, hey, man, I tried and it wasn't possible. Or I was like, you know what? This isn't actually the route that I want to go. Right. But if it's possible and if it's in alignment, I'm absolutely going to take off and do this. So going from remote closing and high ticket sales, I transferred from that company. And I'm like, okay, I want to start my own thing. And, what's it going to be? And, I solar something that I can get behind, right? Because there's one thing that I know about myself, like, if I don't believe in it, it's not going to last very long. So, like, I believe in renewable energy. I believe in doing things better. Okay. I believe in helping people save money. And I also want to run my own thing, and I saw how there was the first solar company that I kind of looked into is sort of built like an MLM. And having experience in MLMs, I understand the advantage of building a network like that, of getting overrides off of building a network of people, off coaching them and helping them. And so I wanted to set my organization up in a similar way. But one of the things I didn't like about that company, which is why I've done it differently over here, is I'm like, I want my reps to make more money, right? Like, I don't want the company making the 80 and the sales rep who's doing all the work getting the 20. I want it to be the other way around. So
which we appreciate.
I want the sales rep making the 80 and me making the 20 off of 10 different people or whatever it is. And giving and incentivizing people to take leadership roles and to, bring people into the organization and help. Because here's the thing, as we grow, we're still new and we're still fairly small, but as we grow, like, I'm not going to be able to coach everybody. I'm not going to be able to help everybody, like, it's cool that I get to establish these relationships with you and with Mark and with Jody and with Marco and with Steve, you know what I mean? Like, because in the future, that's not going to be there. I'm going to be too busy doing other things, or you guys will have taken my role and you guys are going to be working with these people and doing it, which I'm stoked to see that. It stokes me out to see people thriving, being successful. And it's even more so if it's something that, like, I have the opportunity to build, like, me building this out and, like, giving people the opportunity to step into their power to make really good money and to help other people create financial independence too. Like, bro, that's
the win-win.
Me out. Like, I've been about financial independence for a long time, and I'm always trying to help the people that I care about, like, live their best life, like, do better. I'm always encouraging people to start their own business or, whatever it is. Well, this is a way that I can help people have ownership as independent contractors without having to start your own company, and incentivize you to, as you take more ownership and you perform better, you get paid more money.
Right, 100%. And I feel like that's kind of like a mark point of like a really good leader, you know what I'm saying, is their ability to delegate, you know what I'm saying? And because whenever you're building out a team, you want to be able to build those people up to a position. I'm sorry, my dog's barking in the background. But you do want to be able to build them up to a position to where they can take some of the weight off of your shoulders, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Sure. And it should kind of like pass it down the daisy chain. And as we start to grow more, then people start to be able to take on that sales manager role and stuff like that. And so that is kind of like the vision for the company. But so I just wanted to go back to whenever you started their solar company, because you said that you were looking into getting solar for your parents, and that was kind of that was kind of like part of your motivation for getting into all this. What's up?
I wasn't able to give them a really good deal, right? And I wasn't even making that much money on the deal, and there was just a certain level of transparency that didn't exist within that company. And it's their model. And you know what, I get it. Most businesses, you don't know what they paid for their goods, right? There's
right. Yeah. Unless you do a lot of searching on Alibaba, and then you kind of get a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why. If you knew how much their profit was on items and stuff like that, it would make you not want to buy those things, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not even looking at the ethics of how these things were created, you know? Like there's specific companies that I supported when I was younger because it's, you know, it's a brand and it's clout, that I realized that I can't support the way that I see the world now, right? Like if I'm purchasing this item, this is the voting booth that to me is the most important voting booth. Okay. And it's where you spend your dollar, right? Like I'm passing a vote and I'm saying, I support this. Okay. So if I'm buying this company that makes something that uses slave labor, you know, they make shoes for $5 and they sell them for $250. Then when I go and purchase those shoes for $250, I'm saying I support slave labor, and I absolutely don't. Right. So at some point you have to give up.
I don't know many people who just overtly do.
Right. Well, and I think most people don't realize that's what they're doing. And then I end up being the asshole because I then tell them that that's what's going on. And like people say ignorance. Right. They're like, nah, I don't want to.
I was literally about to say that. Right.
Ignorance is bliss. Right. And I fucking hate that. Okay. Because if knowledge is power, right? If knowledge is power, then ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is weakness. Okay. And so knowledge 100%. Can't be power and ignorance be bliss at the same time. Okay. It's a convenient. Now, I obviously understand the saying that ignorance is bliss, whereas, you know, if you turn a blind eye to it and you can just live happily in your little bubble. But I think that's.
Yeah, but can you at the same time?
I mean, a lot of people do. A lot of people are living their lives completely turning a blind eye to the atrocities that are going on, you know, in the production of the things that they enjoy because they enjoy them. And that's just it. That's what they stand on. Well, I enjoy this. I like this product. I like this company. Well, why do you like them? Right. And a lot of people can't give you that answer. And then I'm the asshole because I'm like the bearer of bad news, or people think that I'm trying to make them feel bad about something. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it. If you feel, I can't make you feel any type of way. Okay. If you feel bad about it, it's because you're realizing, as I say this to you, that there's a misalignment in who you are and who you wearing or supporting this product or this brand says that you are based on the ethics of that company. Right. So I'm only trying to bring awareness, and I allow you to make the decision. Now, did I lack tact previously in my life? And probably still do a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes. Can I sometimes be harsh and judgmental? Yeah. Those are.
Well, see, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would view it more as like you're passionate about the subject matter. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you're expressing these things to people, because like, I mean, with the way that society is these days, as far as like, we kind of like pray to our church of the almighty dollar, you know what I'm saying? So with consumerism being king these days, a lot of people do just kind of like clout chase and you just go off of the brand, and it's kind of like what I was saying earlier, like use the ostrich method and just kind of bury their head in the sand whenever it comes to like the ethics, morality of these companies and stuff like that. Cause like, I mean, if you break it down down, there's not really an ethical way for a company to make over $1 billion. So any company that does at some point in that daisy chain is doing something that's not good.
And I've been saying for a long time, when you begin realizing how much money some of these companies are making, I say, it is my belief that you need to either charge less for your product or you need to pay the people who work for you more money. And I designed this company in the spirit of that. Like, do I want to make as much money as possible? Of course I do. But I also wanted to be in alignment with what I say that I'm going to do. So I would be a hypocrite if I created this company and did things exactly the way everybody else does them just because everybody else does them that way.
Right.
If I want to be different and I say that I'm different, then I damn well better show that I'm different. The results better be there,
Right. Right. And I mean, like with solar, we are kind of trying to like the move into more renewable energy. I feel like is kind of doing what you're talking about and kind of like trying to take money out of big companies' hands, because like a lot of utility companies are some of the only surviving monopolies in this country. Right. And so like whenever you move into a state or you move into a new house, we ask people all the time, we're like, well, why did you choose your utility company? 99% of the exactly. You know what I'm saying? So
I have no other option.
You just move in and that's how it is. So
right.
We're kind of
zero competition kind of creates an unhealthy environment, don't you think? But when it's regulated by the government, you know what I mean? Like
for sure. And so, but we kind of take that power and kind of like give it back to the people in a sense, you know what I'm saying? So like, instead of you paying rent essentially to your landlord of the utility company, we kind of like take that and slap it right on your roof. But, also just kind of like an example of that would be what happened recently in California. Wasn't it PG&E got sued a whole bunch?
Yeah, so they were their negligence. They had a bunch of outdated equipment. Transformers are exploding and other things that are happening, and there were some massive fires over the last 5 years, as I'm sure the entire country, maybe even the world, knows about a lot of these. And I know people whose houses were destroyed. And so PG&E was sued and they had to pay, out a specific amount of money that was fairly large in a lawsuit. And then over an 18-month period, immediately following all of that stuff, they raised their rates 38%, I believe.
Which is insane.
PG&E is not paying for shit.
Right.
You are still paying for it as the consumer. Your bill so if you're paying $100, you're now paying $138, and wrap that across hundreds of millions of people, or however many people PG&E services above LA, because I believe LA and San Diego are on their own thing. So, 75% of California is PG&E. However many million people that is, multiply that by 38% increase in their bill. Weird. It just
happened to jump up like that.
500 million more last quarter, which essentially pays the lawsuit and now they don't have to lower their rates, right? Have you ever known a utility company to lower their rates, bro?
Right.
No chance. Once they establish that it's now the new normal, and they don't. Yeah. Now, you know what? Everyone's used to. We are the frogs that are slowly being boiled, right? Have you heard that saying?
Yeah. If you put it in a
boiling water, he jumps out. But if you throw a frog in water and you slowly bring it to a boil, he boils to death.
Yeah, it'll just chill.
In so many ways in society and in the world, we are the frogs, and we're being boiled to death right now. And we need to realize that and take our power back. And owning your power is one of the ways that you can do that,
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, we even seen that kind of rate hikes, maybe not necessarily to that extent of an exaggeration, but even just we've been doing the work in Connecticut recently, and they even have like literal annual rate hikes that happen in the wintertime that normally can be like 10% or more, you know what I'm saying? And so that's just like a
recent 17% hike there.
Yep.
We're doing a little bit of work in Virginia right now, and I think that they just proposed a 37% rate increase in Virginia, and it didn't get approved. Only a portion of the rate increase was approved, but they're fighting to have the rest of it approved. It's like,
sheesh. So why do you need 37%? They're like, well, California got 38% more. Why can't we?
And everybody, especially with utilities, everybody in the country follows California. So, net metering 3.0, which is highway robbery in my
right.
It's only a matter of time until every other state adopts that as well. Although there's some sort of thing that I read recently where they're trying to repeal that or correct it or something, which
they really need to.
I hope so. It's
right.
fucked up. It's putting solar out of reach for people,
your average person,
because you have to have a battery, which is an extra 10 grand that you have to pay for now.
Right.
Before you didn't need, you don't have to have a battery in Connecticut because they give you credit for what you're producing. They don't cut your credit by 80% like California did.
Yeah, in Connecticut it was like dang near 1-to-1.
It is 1-to-1. There's two different programs. One of them is 1-to-1, and the other one is like 95% of it you get credit for.
Right. Which is why solar revs be pushing so hard in states like Connecticut, because we're trying to help you guys out before net metering hits.
Dude.
That way you can kind of get grandfathered in
and make it still
worth
NEM 3.0, because there's net metering in some states that's a much better program than NEM 3.0. Like I believe in California, if you got solar before a specific date, you can still take advantage of NEM 2.0, which I don't know exactly what that is. That happened before I got into the solar game, but it's much better than 80-20. I don't know if they take a portion of it, if it's still 1-to-1 or what exactly it is, but it's better. I know that.
Right. And so the other part of our podcast, right? So we are going to be talking about renewable energy. We are going to be bringing you guys the latest and greatest news of what's going on in the renewable energy space, and what you guys can kind of do to take advantage of all of the advantages that are available to you while they're still available to you. And then the other part of this is so it's just from how you were talking about being more in touch with Mother Gaia and stuff like that. I take it you're kind of more of a spiritual type person, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was raised in the Christian church, and I first met God through Jesus Christ, and I'll forever be grateful for that experience. I don't really subscribe to traditional Christian beliefs at all anymore. But I've gotten into kind of my own process, right? Like I bought my own property in 2016. I spent some time alone out there for a number of months, and I was sitting down, I was meditating with my back against the biggest tree on my property every morning, and I found my inner voice. I discovered my intuition, and it just kind of snowballed from there to a point where I now work with I'm facilitate with and work with a group who does vision quest and plant medicine ceremonies and stuff like that. Some of my best friends are in this, deeply spiritual space of exploring themselves and the human experience mixed with, how as spirits we can better navigate, right? We are spirits having a human experience. We are not humans having a spiritual experience.
Right. We're energetic beings.
Well, we're electric before we're chemical also, right? Like as soon as your electric rate drops to zero and stops, right? Your heart stops beating. Okay. Right. But the chemical processes are still going on in your body. All right. We told you right there that we are electric before we are chemical. Like that's one of the first thing that begins happening is that electric pulse. That it's the reason why a defibrillator can shock you back and bring you back to life. They don't shoot you with some chemicals, well, unless like Narcan, right? Because you've that's a whole nother that's a whole different conversation.
But so one of the things that we wanted to touch on was just talking about, we'll be bringing more information on this would be the elevated energy part of how to raise your vibration and kind of like get ourselves more in tune with like what it would be, being more cohesive with our technology with the earth, as opposed to like working against it, kind of, which is kind of what the whole solar punk movement kind of is appealing to to us and whatnot. So how did you kind of get started on that spiritual journey? What do you feel like kind of were your influences that kind of turned you towards that direction?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think it probably started with trying to manifest, right?
Yeah.
And learning about manifestation. And then
like 369 method, or
not necessarily, just understanding that I can speak into existence, speak things into existence, right? And so I tried that for a while, not necessarily working because I was missing something. And then I stumbled upon Abraham Hicks. And when I stumbled upon Abraham Hicks, that really kind of helped open things for me. And realizing that just saying that you want a new car or you want millions of dollars doesn't do it, because your conscious mind still knows that there's an absence of those things. So as you're saying those things, you're also reinforcing that you do not have them. Okay?
Right.
So leaning into this future reality of it's here for me right now, right? And then more from that, feeling the feeling that you'll feel when you have the thing is the way to really begin manifesting and creating. And through all of that, it's meditation in this kind of explorations. It's a psychedelic kind of thing, right? And
100%.
I've always been into exploring all that this human experience has to offer. Like I say that I'll try almost anything once.
Right.
I inherently knew that I never wanted to stick a needle in my arm. So,
right. It doesn't normally seem like a good idea.
I never went for the really hardcore type stuff, but like the rest of it and how it expands your experience, oftentimes for a short amount of time, and then it can be detrimental to you long term, right?
Yeah. People do start to lose their way a bit.
For sure. But it's just kind of led me down that path, the meditation and trying to learn more about meditation. And people are talking about having these psychedelic experiences that people are also experiencing on plant medicines. And then it starts bringing the intention around everything into it. And, beginning to have an intention in everything that you do. There's a reason for why I do everything. I try not to just blindly do anything. And then it carries into the medicine. Like on that property that I bought in 2016, I started growing cannabis. I had been growing cannabis for a really long time. I began to respect the medicine of it. I began praying over it. Whereas now when I burn, which is I abused that medicine for a very long time. Now when I consume Santa Maria or cannabis, I have a specific intention. I communicate with it. I thank her. It's a really, really beautiful medicine that has a lot of benefits. It's the same thing before I go into a mushroom ceremony or ayahuasca or whatever it is. There's specific intention going into that space. And when you intention is everything. So when you have a really clear intention going into something, it changes the experience.
Right.
And I guess that answers your question. That's a
no, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And so just to kind of touch on what you were saying a little bit is I feel like there's a school of thought that says there's basically like 3 levels of thinking, right? And so there's like the surface level where like there's just like your actions, or there's 3 different ways of like perceiving things, right? And so there's the first level, which would just be like your actions, right? And then behind those actions is the second level, which is the intention behind the action, right? And then there's the emotion that drives the intention that drives the action, right? And so I feel like with manifestation, it's exactly what you were saying, like the feeling that you will have whenever you have the thing, you know what I'm saying? That would be the emotion that drives the intention, right? And then so thinking about getting the thing would be the intention, and then the action of saying the mantra or whatever your manifestation tool is, whether you're writing it down or whether you're affirming it to yourself daily, is what's going to push that method through. But it all goes back, and the most important part is that emotion that you're maintaining about what it is that you want. Yeah.
Yeah. You're reverse engineering it. This is the best way to do so many different things,
100%.
It's exactly what I'm doing, like with the sales organization, right? It's like seeing what other people have done previously to get to a goal. Like, okay, this is how they got to that goal. How do they do that? Because I want to feel those feelings, right? Of accomplishing.
Right.
Things. Like, okay, so how do we do that? Okay. And again, what's the intention behind it? Okay. The intention is this behind it. Now, what are the action steps that are in alignment with that intention and trying to achieve that emotion that we're wanting to achieve at the end of it? You know what I mean? Like, here are the action steps, because here's the thing. You can't just sit and with your eyes closed and feel the feeling that you're going to feel when you have the thing that you want to have. Your actions have to match that.
Right.
So as much as you want to be, this big, strong, super fit dude, if you don't go and move your body, it's not going to happen for you. Okay. And so if you want to be a millionaire, you need to go and do something that matches the result of being a millionaire. You can't continue working at 7-Eleven.
Right. You can't just wake up, get stoned, play some Grand Theft Auto and think you're going to fucking go to sleep and wake up a millionaire the next day.
Not going to get there, bro. Now there are some people, like there's this woman, I think her name's like Helen Hansel or something. And this is like back in the, I don't know, the 20s or 30s, or maybe it was the 50s or something like that. But she could literally win any like raffle or contest that she entered into, right?
Yeah.
Because she's tapping into
clairvoyance or something,
future emotion of truly, because it's still even difficult for me, right? Like I understand the concept of feeling the emotion of how I'm going to feel when I'm in that car, or when I'm on my 100 acres on the river, or I'm on the Caribbean Sea in Costa Rica at my retreat property, I can get a percentage of the way there, but is 100% there? No, it's not, because
it's difficult getting that, especially if you're a logical based thinker, you know what I'm saying? It's extremely difficult getting that conscious mind to be like, all right, you know what, maybe we could do this, you know what I'm saying? So
so apparently she must have, the only way I can explain is that she must have figured out how to, get 100% of the way there. And then that created that reality because she was there already. Right.
Right. Just in her head, I'm the luckiest person in the world. Like there's no two ways about it.
Crazy.
For sure. So I know you mentioned that you were got into the cannabis industry a little bit whenever you were a kid and whatnot. What were your experience with that? Or some of your experiences with that, I suppose.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember I wanted to play Major League Baseball. That was my dream growing up. Always, I just
from weed to baseball. I like it.
Baseball. And when I stopped playing baseball, I started smoking weed regularly. It really, what it was, I moved across the street from some friends of mine, and when they weren't, because what you do in college, bro, like you go to school and then you party and you fuck off, Right. And so, we were all in college.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, I'm living in a house with some friends and across the street from some other friends, and I'd go over there, and Halo 2 was big at the time. So they're all playing Halo 2, and like I get on the sticks and I start playing Halo with them, and I'm smoking their weed, and then I'm like, I've never been a user, using of people, right?
Right.
And so, I've never really been a user of drugs, that I wouldn't say either. I was like a user, but I guess cannabis, I for sure was, right? Like all day, every day for a long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, most people these days, especially, aren't going to call you a drug addict for smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? But,
but I've never I've always been conscious of that, of not wanting to take advantage of people or anything. So I'm smoking bong loads for like a couple weeks probably. And I'm like, bro, like I can't yo, homie, cause they sold weed too, of course,
right.
I think we all sold weed. Like, I mean, like all of my friends were all selling weed. Right. Like, and so I'm like, yo, let me buy a sack. And then I bought a sack, and I'm like, I don't got money for this shit, bro. Like I can't be spending money on weed. So I started growing weed literally in that same house. My buddy and I fired up, a little 1-plant grow in his closet.
Yeah.
Everywhere that I lived after that, I had a grow.
Fired up a little grow up. Yeah, you see, like I've rocked a tent in the closet kind of deal, you know what I'm saying? But normally never more than like 2 plants at a time type deal. But through high school, I got into my own a little bit and just finding seeds in bags and whatnot. And be like, I wonder if I can get it to sprout.
Yeah. So, and then that was cool. And here's the thing, you know what? One of the reasons why I actually got into cannabis in the first place is because I watched this documentary. It's called Rick Simpson Run from the Cure. Mm-hmm. Rick Simpson's in Canada, and he's been curing people with full spectrum cannabis since like the 70s.
Yeah.
A lot of people know that as RSO. You'll go in the club and you can buy RSO. That's Rick Simpson oil. And there's a specific way to a specific process as far as extracting all the cannabinoids from the plant. And there's evidence and studies that show that full spectrum cannabis has the most health benefits, specifically for people with health issues, with cancer specifically. And what it suggests is that full spectrum, obviously, too, right? Not just like the CBD or anything like that. Is that, because here's the thing. God or the creator or spirit or whatever is very, very intelligent and creates all of these things for us to consume them as they are. It's the reason why you go and forage herbs and you eat them, and your fruits and your vegetables, right? We're not extracting a specific chemical from it and just having that. We eat the whole thing for health benefit.
It's also part of why if you eat nothing but McDonald's, you're probably not going to have a very healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, that's not food, but that's a whole other conversation. So full spectrum cannabis actually helps because what cancer cells is, they're rapidly multiplying cells that are unhealthy cells that they don't need to be there, right?
Right. There's something that got wrong with the DNA code.
Cells basically commit suicide. So they just go away.
I'm not supposed to be here. What?
and I've actually, I've cured cancer on 3 different occasions, skin cancer on 3 different occasions with my full spectrum cannabis oil too. It started with my cat first.
Yeah.
Because we noticed that my cat's ears were deteriorating. It was an orange cat and we were living out on, 5 acres. He's out running around in the sun all the time.
Right.
And he's orange, right? So it doesn't block the light. And so we took him to the vet and they're like, yeah, it's skin cancer. And verbatim, bro, I shit you not. The vet says, it's not that bad yet. We'll wait for it to get worse and then we'll cut his ears off.
What do you mean?
And I'm like, that can't be a real answer. That can't be what, like, are you kidding me? And they're like, there's not really anything we can do. They're like, put sunscreen on his ears.
What do you mean?
Well, guess what? Traditional sunscreen causes liver failure in cats.
Yeah.
So you're telling me to cover something that is going to kill him with something that's going to fucking kill him.
Right.
And I'm like, I was so upset that that's your response. So I took my cannabis oil that I was making mixed with coconut oil and put it on his ears every day for like 2 weeks, bro. And at first it looked horrible. Okay, because what's happening is that the cancer is committing suicide, but it's on the ears. So the ears are peeling and bubbling and they're raw and they look awful. 2 weeks later, new skin and hair started growing back on his ears, bro.
That's amazing.
Cancer's gone.
Right.
I've done that twice more since then, including with my grandma, who's got cancer on her legs, and what they're giving her is not working. And also, even though my grandma's got dough, she's cheap.
Right.
And she's like, well, the medication they want me to take is, however many hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, here, put this up on your legs. It's free. She puts it on her legs. She goes back to her doctor. Her doctor's amazed. I'm taking pictures. I'm talking to people about it. If her doctor was really amazed, how come she didn't come talk to me?
Right.
If my holistic way over here is just cured her cancer and what you're doing isn't,
right?
As a doctor,
but hers costs a lot more money.
As a doctor, you take the Hippocratic oath,
right?
And what's crazy about that is Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine." But our doctors receive hardly any nutrition training, and many doctors. I know that this is changing, but historically, over the last few decades, many doctors say diet doesn't matter.
Right.
And unfortunately, and here people get upset when I say this sometimes, because everybody, here's the thing: doctors were revered for a long time. This grandma who I'm talking about, her husband was a doctor in the age where doctors were revered. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the way that the medical system is designed is that these doctors get compensated for writing prescriptions, and the doctors get compensated for having a return customer. So if they can write you a prescription and have you coming back for the rest of your life, they got a customer for life. Okay. Right. Now they may not be looking at it as I'm harvesting money from this person. I'm not helping them, because what the drug industry says is that this drug helps them in this condition. So they think, I would assume most doctors think that they're helping their clients. But the biggest thing that you could do as a doctor to help your client is to actually become knowledgeable about holistic health. Okay. And
cure their
how
disease.
the body actually works and the processes. And the fact that we're not drinking clean water, we're not eating clean food, we're not getting barefoot on the earth, we're not getting sunshine, the things that we need. Matter of fact, we've said that we've demonized the sun and we say sun causes cancer. Well, guess what? If you eat a clean diet, the sun does not cause cancer. Do you know how many Native Americans had cancer back in the day?
Right.
Why is that? It's the standard American diet. There's all this shit in our diet. And guess what? Our skin's our biggest organ. So everything leaches out through the skin. You have all these heavy metals and crap that's in your food that's detoxifying through your skin as you sweat, right? Okay. Or you piss it out, hopefully, but a lot of it stays in your body or it starts to come out in your skin, your biggest organ. And then the sun cooks these heavy metals into your skin. And of course, you're going to get cancer from that.
Right.
But it's not the sun. It's the sun cooking the shit into your skin that you put in your body, unbeknownst to you, because you don't know the glyphosate is destroying your gut health, and it's in almost everything. You don't know
that's
microplastics are everywhere. They're in the air that we're breathing. They're leaching out of our bodies, and they're trying to, right? Or they're stuck in there.
Right. And glyphosate is that it's basically Raid, right?
Roundup.
There you go.
The active ingredient in Roundup. And GMO crops have been designed with glyphosate in the seed so that it's, what do they call it? They call it systemic. It's systemic. So they don't have to spray the plants because the plant already has the Roundup in it. And then we go and consume that. And, you know,
that's like the potatoes that go into McDonald's French fries. The potatoes that go into McDonald's French fries, bro, they have to sit for like 2 weeks. Yeah,
they have to let them air out. And when they spray, they don't go outside after they spray, right? Dude, that's what I'm saying. This isn't food. Okay, now those were potatoes at some point, but because of the process that's involved, they're not. It's not food anymore, you know. And similarly to like, yo, bro, Cheetos isn't food. Okay, but we've been
they are good though.
Thinking that it's food. These crackers are not food. These chips are not food. We've been duped into viewing it as food though. So now we view something that's not food as food. When you should be going out into your garden and eating that way, you know, like, or whatever. We may be getting a little bit off topic here.
For sure. But so I might have to get you to send me some of that cannabis oil, man, because my dog's got a lump on her side right now. It's got me worried. But I feel like we covered a lot more ground than we originally thought we were going to, but that's what you guys can expect. So we're going to be jumping some information on you. Hopefully we'll learn together how to be a little bit healthier and maybe help out the planet while we're on the way, right? But thank you for joining us. Once again, this is the Elevated Energy Podcast. Thank you so much, Scott, for letting me interview you today. It was a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys next week.
Elevate that energy, folks.